I uploaded my favorite screenshot of all Shokugeki no Soma to the Dream Team.
Oh, did you?
Just now?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
I know exactly what this is because I also screenshotted this.
Wrong page. No.
I know exactly what.
All right, that's got to be the thumbnail. That's got to be the thumbnail right now.
That's the exact same screenshot at the exact same time that I took it.
That's got to be it. There can be no. That's it. I got the title. I got the title for this one. I've got it now.
Is it Dicks Out for Souma?
Oh my god.
I love
Dicks Out for Souma.
It was like we get into the first couple episodes of this show, and they start doing these beautiful metaphors just to explain like how the food tastes. It's fucking amazing, man. I love it.
Oh,
it's
there's
like,
some other really fucking great ones though.
Like the one where she was underneath a peaceful waterfall and then a jukebox hit her.
That one's pretty good too, yeah.
It started
I'm
playing,
just
like,
talking about, I have some other really goddamn good screenshots.
I think the jukebox started playing like country music or something like that. It was fucking amazing. You know what I was initially amazed with whenever it came to this show? Is
What
that
was that?
it actually used pacing very well. A lot better than what I thought it would. I don't know why, but I went into this and I guess I was just either expecting it to be like taking fucking forever to get somewhere because it has 24 episodes to get there, or it was gonna take like way too little and just kind of speed through everything because it was trying to adapt a longer manga.
Yeah, the thing is, I feel like it did a really good job, particularly because it kind of seemed like from the start that it was going to be more than just like, you know, the two core that we got here. Like, it almost seemed as though it was guaranteed to get a second season, which it is, which is airing now. So I guess kind of in that sense, it did feel like it was really comfortable with the amount of time it had with the story that it wanted to tell.
Yeah.
So...
And I didn't feel like any of the arcs dragged on, like they were stuck in one particular place for too long. I think the closest that got to was like the summer camp arc, but even then, like it used its time incredibly wisely, and so like it didn't feel stretched out. It just felt like we were doing exactly what we needed to do to get through the story,
Right.
and explain everything in detail.
What's really interesting is that I don't even know if that's a part of the adaptation itself, even though the adaptation is absolutely great and amazing. The manga is actually pretty well paced as well, and it's paced exactly the same way. The anime didn't really add anything or subtract anything. It's literally just the manga as an anime. Like,
It's as straight of an adaptation as you can get.
It's almost completely straight. Like, they almost like didn't change anything. Actually,
That's really interesting.
Almost perfect. Like, they might have, like, I think, like, they swapped maybe a couple of things, like, in the order they happened, but it didn't matter at all. Like, and I think that was just in particularly when Soma's dad came home. They swapped that. They swapped that
for a little bit.
Yeah, they swapped that with the chicken, the chicken back at his restaurant where they had the chicken feud at the restaurant.
Okay, yeah, where they had
the karage.
Those both happened in opposite order, but it didn't matter at all.
Okay, I see.
And that's like the major instance where they swapped something. Everything else was like pretty straight. Like,
and those could be completely told out of order and it was fine.
Yeah, like that didn't matter.
Yeah,
at
like
all. So.
Right, because like the only thing that would make one lead into the other was, I guess, in the adaptation, part of the reason Soma went back was like his dad was like, "Hey, I beat the heck out of you. Why don't you go see the restaurant, hear it out a little bit every now and then?"
Yeah,
like,
where his dad was
I can
like,
do
"I'm
that."
still gonna travel the world, and so I'm gonna be busy. If you can, just go home and make sure everything's okay." That's what
Yeah,
they
but
put
it
in the
really
adaptation.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
yeah, it didn't matter at all. But besides that, it was all pretty straight. I mean, it was perfect.
And I gotta say, that was another interesting thing about like playing it straight is that they played like the shonen aspect of the show super straight. I don't think it really even deviated or like undermined anything in particular in my mind. Like it was a straight underdog shonen story. Um, but it did. But what it did is that it knew exactly what it was doing and just told it incredibly well, like way better than most other shonen I've seen.
Yeah. I feel like part of that comes from like you say it's kind of like a straight underdog shonen sort of thing. And kind of when I think of that, I sort of think of like Naruto, like, oh my gosh, I'm getting my ass kicked, and then I'm going to pull something out of thin air at the last minute with my secret weapon. But it really seems to me like throughout most of what we get here, like Soma is always on top of his game. He knows exactly how he's going to tackle each challenge. It never feels like to me, except for a few instances, that Soma actually is the underdog per se, except in the minds
Of everybody
those
else.
he's competing against.
I
Yeah.
guess maybe I'm thinking of that in in the aspect of like I don't know other series that I've seen.
Are you talking about like it's not doing anything like weirdly meta with its? I hate using the word meta. 'Cause
It's
a bad
not
word, but
diverting
it's
any
not-
tropes or anything like that. I mean, they
Yeah.
have multiple
not trying to subvert
situations.
anything.
Right.
It's just playing it completely. This is what we're doing. This is the kind of story it is. There's no.
Yeah, it's not
like,
switching up the formula.
We're
No.
not bait and switching you, or we're not.
No,
subverting weird shit or anything.
It's like almost every single twist and turn in this show, you can clearly see exactly how it's going to play out from the beginning.
Right, they're not going to golden time you or something.
Oh God. Yeah, that's not going to happen. And it's pretty clear from the way the story is just told. You can tell you're watching something amazing, and you're here for the ride. Congratulations.
Right, and that's kind of the interesting thing to me. Like I was never actually surprised by any of the twists the story took, but despite that, I consistently enjoyed the show. It never bothered me that it was really predictable, just because it actually handled its story so well. It knew exactly what it wanted to do with it. It wasn't trying to do anything super crazy with it. Like all the twists and turns for me came with, oh my god, what kind of crazy dish are they going to put out? Like that was really the big sort of quote unquote plot twists for me.
Yeah, for
Nothing was a surprise except for what they put on the table.
It's kind of the anticipation of what is he going to do next. It's not really like how is he going to do it, or if he's going to come through with it. It's what is he going to do this time.
Right. It's what dish is it going to be, and then for me, it was also how are they going to react to this metaphor?
Yeah.
Because every single time they put out one of these dishes, it just turns into like one of the most like horribly sexual but also really strange metaphors. And I don't think I've seen like anything like that. Like taking a bath. Okay, from early on we were talking about it with the Harambe thing. It's like taking a bath in like in a hot spring, and then it's a beautiful, wonderful moment is how she's describing it, like as if you're taking a bath in a hot spring, and then all of a sudden a gorilla shows up. These metaphors are very strange.
It's kind of weird though. In some way, it sort of feels like it's kind of like an oscillating sort of like curve for these sort of things. Because like initially there's a whole lot of like sort of sexual responses to the food in that sort of sense, and there's like this initially early on it's like there's this huge kind of visual theme of the beauty of this food brings out nakedness in everyone. It's like it strips everyone down to their core, which also was really cool because it wasn't just women in the show that were sexualized.
No,
it was like the dudes were stripped naked as well, and all that jazz. And I was fairly impressed by that actually. But like it kind of switched between that and then like in some instances it was just like pure sort of enlightenment or euphoria in reaction to the foods, and it wasn't like sexual in nature, things like that.
Yeah.
But,
Would you say the
switched
ripping
around
of
a
the
lot.
clothes is stripping us to our natural basic instincts for food and hunger
Like I felt that kind of too. I
to
felt that
get
it
haughty on
was
us.
Wow.
Just get
I was
like
gonna say,
hoity-toity.
that went really deep all of a sudden.
well, I did feel, if we're going to talk hoity-toity here, like I did kind of feel that, but I felt that it was more like it does strip us down to our natural need for food and things like that, but it felt to me like it was stripping us down to pure base like euphoria, pure pleasure in that sense. It's like the foods that are served up give the recipients like a singular moment of, oh my god, this is euphoria, this is like life itself. um, I don't know, for some anyway.
No, I
No,
I definitely
I
agree with
get
you.
what you're saying.
Yeah, it was kind of funny to me, I guess, in that sense too, because I kept thinking about it, as a shonen, as the show went on. It was really funny to me in that I would think back to like Dragon Ball Z, how during a fight scene they would take a gratuitous amount of time to actually explain, oh my god, he did this sort of preparation to use a special beam cannon, and this is what it does, and this is the
Right,
aftermath, and da da da.
and I think what makes this show so good is that that's exactly what you need, because it's taking that same exact formula but applying it to food. So now they're just, instead of detailing some special food or something, they're detailing like the actual preparation of a meal or the meal itself and explaining it.
Exactly.
Which
Yeah,
is
It was
so
it
much
was
better.
so funny to me because it's like, oh my god, you guys have taken this basic formula and you have like refined it. It is perfect for this genre. It's perfect for this story. God, you done well.
Yeah, I was very surprised with how, like I said, how straight they play it. But then the twist is that it's all about food now. So like anytime that there's a battle, it's just dramatic moments of just like tossing food in a bowl and mixing it up and then serving it on a plate, and all of a sudden the aroma just gets everybody's mouths watering.
Because like it's like when you get to like the autumn selection arc, like near the end of the season, it is like they distill that down to a science. Like almost the entire last few episodes are just straight dialogue. Like there's not a whole lot going on per se. Like everything that actually happens could probably take place in about like maybe 5 to 10 actual minutes, real time. But they spent so much time just
There was a lot of
going
detail.
on and on and on about each dish. Yes, and it's really satisfying to me. I don't know, like that was kind of like the whole thing about the show to me. It was really satisfying to watch, visually, thematically, things like that. And there was never a point where to me it actually dragged on. Like I was always left, wanting to watch the next episode.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, at one point last night, actually, while I was trying to marathon to get done with this, I actually reached a point where like it was left on a sort of cliffhanger in the middle of the arc where they're making the fried chicken dish at home.
The karage.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah.
the karage, and I was it was like it wasn't really a cliffhanger. It was just like it was obviously the arc was continuing, and then but it was so fucking late, and I was so tired. I was like, I want to watch the next episode, but I can't. I physically can't. I'm falling asleep.
Yeah, it was a very easy show to marathon for me.
Mhm.
And the manga's like that too. You just read it. You're just like, man, I just want to keep reading. Like it's very easy. It's very easy to pick up, and it's very easy to, just go through, just whatever.
Yeah. It's really funny because it's like the show, or the story itself kind of mimics what some of the dishes actually in the series do. It's like, oh my god, like it's not that it's not that I want to keep eating, it's I can't stop eating this dish, it's so amazing.
My
And
mouth
so it's
is
like,
moving on its own.
Oh God, let's not.
but yeah, but it's just like, yeah, like I can't help but keep watching this show because it's just really fun. Like it's not like super groundbreaking or anything, it's not like being a pioneer in the genre or anything of that nature,
No.
but it just does everything so well, and it's so it's so engaging and easy to actually get into. It's very accessible, so it's a joy to watch.
Yeah, I think a lot of people could really just sit down and watch this show. Like, I don't feel like there's a big barrier of entry at all.
Well, I will say the
I
barrier
mean,
of
aside
entry.
from the
Yeah, the
honey tentacles.
Right. The barrier entry when
okay,
it comes to
well.
this is the sexual metaphors and the ecchi tag on the show itself. That's the barrier of entry. But if you can get past that, it's incredibly watchable. It's very funny, and it's very good at what it does. And I thought it was interesting because you were mentioning thinking back on DBZ. I actually did do a couple of comparisons to actual DBZ just because. Like,
Really?
It follows of some very similar things. So, for instance, like Erina, I'm not gonna say it right.
Yeah. It's Erina.
She's
We
like
gotcha.
she's like the main from the very start. She's kind of this main antagonist of the series, but she's never seen as like a horrible, terrible person or anything like that. In fact, they use multiple episodes to empathize with her, which I thought was very similar
Right.
to DBZ and Vegeta.
Mhm.
Where we show him as like this really bad dude initially, and then as the show goes on, we get more and more episodes where we're empathizing with this person, and where we're seeing that they're like actively trying to combat the main character who's up and coming and like totally doing a lot of awesome fighting.
Yeah, because it's straight up like, I'm the prince of all Saiyans. I can't acknowledge you.
Yeah, and
Dude,
she
whereas,
says that
like,
she's the
I
empress of
haven't
all
got
cooking.
time. I can't acknowledge you.
Right.
Right.
And I liked that too, because like as it kept continuing, I liked that she wasn't just going to be. Because I was thinking, as far as like on a Kill la Kill standpoint, like the class prez, like we hated for most of the show, and it wasn't until like maybe the last 6 episodes really that we even got some sort of empathy with that character. But they started in this show.
Wait,
Satsuki.
class.
Sorry, Satsuki.
Oh, you're talking about Kill la Kill. Okay.
Yeah, in
all
Kill
right.
la Kill. Satsuki, like it wasn't until like the last 6 episodes that we really got more like last 8 that we got some like major actual empathy with the character. But from the get go,
Different discussion.
it was mostly like the first arc was entirely like this is the main baddie, and then like it starts to open up from there. But like from the get go, as far as Shokugeki no Soma goes, like Erina is shown from the beginning to be empathetic. Well, she does like really kind of, for lack of a better word, bitchy things. Like she does some pretty terrible things to like some other clubs and some other people with like different cooking battles and stuff like that. She also is shown to be like likable in a lot of ways, which I liked that they started that at the beginning, and that's why I felt it was a little bit more like Vegeta than it was like, I don't know, some other example, where she was shown as this main bad guy, but at the same time we can also appreciate that character.
Sure, yeah. The only main difference being that, it takes us probably like somewhere around maybe 100-ish episodes to get some empathy for Vegeta, whereas
I mean, yeah,
we haven't made it for that. But yeah, same idea.
I will say
I'm picking up what you're throwing down.
I will say, in a comparison to DBZ, though, something that I thought was interesting was that this show did something that DBZ did not, in which the supporting cast in Shokugeki no Soma, all of them are actually incredibly talented and masterful at the job and work that they do.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes, that was something that really impressed me, in that every single supporting character actually had significant development.
Yes.
Which was amazing to me. And I love, for example, how I'm blanking on her name.
Blue-haired girl?
Yes.
Naomi? Was that it?
Give me a second.
You're talking about Tadakoro, or Megumi, or whichever
Yeah,
name you want to call her.
Yes, Megumi.
Yeah.
I love, Tadakoro, that's what they call her most. I love how they actually take time to initially establish her as because I initially figured she was going to fall into that sort of archetype where it's like the female supporting cast member that serves to support the male shonen
Yeah.
protag sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like, you know, she gets better but kind of falls by the wayside. But God,
No,
Her character development is
hard.
amazing.
She was the character that
Like, it's
developed the
mind-blowing.
most over the show. Like she
Yeah.
like started from somebody who was about to fail out of the school, and they even state this in the show. She was about to fail out of the school to now she's a point where she's one of the top 8 contenders in her grade, possibly in the school. Like that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Along the way, we actually see that with her actual character and how more confident she is, and how like very much she's more comfortable with her actual cooking and her ability to do more and be more creative. That was cool.
Right. And the part of the really nice thing about that too is there is a point in her development arc where she's like, well, I mean, I couldn't have really done any of this without you, Soma. But then I like how it changes course, and it's like, no, you had this in yourself the whole time. Don't attribute this all to Soma. This is all you, girl. Like, he might have helped you here and there, but you're the one that had this talent, you know, within you the whole time. And so I liked how it wasn't all just like, you know, shoved off as, well, look how great Soma is. He made her an amazing cook.
Yeah.
Right.
It was
and
like, look how awesome Tadokoro is. She's an amazing cook.
They even showed that progression really well, because at first she had to rely a lot on Soma, and then for her actual competition against an alumni, Soma has like that was a little bit different, because like Soma was only supporting her instead of taking the lead, and through their hard work they were actually able to sort of tie the alumni,
Right.
and then for her own competition she was on her own alone, and she did everything herself. And they even made a nice little point with who's that character, Miyoko Hojo, who specifically stated, if you can't do it without a man, then I don't want to talk to you. And like at first she was sad, and then she was like, no, you're right, if I can't do this on my own, then I have no reason to be here. I'm going to do this on my own. And she did. Like, that was fantastic. She probably had the best progression out of all the characters.
Oh yeah, by far.
It was super impressive to actually show the kind of progression in that sense. Like, the other Polar Star members all had a cool time to shine the spotlight, you know, during the arc selection.
Well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which was nice, but like for them, it was more like, hey, their hidden talent was revealed at their crucial moment.
Right.
It was less a progression and more of a reveal. So having Tadokoro's progression was super satisfying.
Yeah. I liked what they did with the supporting cast as well. Like, they just didn't fall by the wayside or become irrelevant. They actually still mattered throughout the show, as we were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like that they all actually have a kind of amazing ability to do what they do as well.
Can I also point out, by the way, that as far as Megumi goes, something that I also appreciated about her character is that we're 24 episodes into the story now, and she has yet to make any like hidden notion that she has feelings for Soma until the very end, which means that throughout this entire thing they've only been friends. The main girl and the main guy this entire time have only been friends. That is
and the thing fantastic. Is, like, you could even make the argument that it's not like full on by the end of this season that we get.
It's not at all.
It's not even like fully revealed that she's like, oh, I'm super, you know, in love with him or whatever. Like, he didn't collect this gigantic actual harem per se. Like, there's, you know, a couple characters you could argue have developed some kind of greater feelings or greater respect for him. Like, I'd say Erina, she like doesn't have a thing for someone per se, but she has some deep
she has some deep
kind of repressed.
Yeah,
she has a repressed sort of respect for his cooking abilities.
I don't even know if it's repressed. I would just say that, like, well, no,
or rather, she doesn't want to acknowledge it.
Yeah, it's like she knows he's good. It's just she. I guess that is the definition.
She doesn't want to acknowledge him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like I don't remember her actual name. I can only remember Nikumi.
I just called her Nikumi the entire time.
Yeah.
But yeah, and she's the only one that actually actively has some type of feelings for him. Besides we go into the fried chicken arc.
Oh, childhood friend.
Yeah, and childhood friend
Right.
apparently has feelings for him, but I mean that was kind of from the get go. There was something there.
Yeah.
It's just we just
Yeah.
don't ever see her the entire show. So but no, yeah, I love that. I love that Megumi, like, she never had feelings for him, and 24 episodes later, it's just the first time we ever hear her say something even sort of like that. And what she says it can't.
It's kind of ambiguous.
It's super ambiguous,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's awesome. If they do get a relationship later, if it's this slow of a progression, I love that. It means that it's a very
Right.
natural progression of them over time learning to like each other as friends.
It's a nice slow burn.
Right. I like
Very
that
nice.
a lot.
Just let it simmer a bit.
But at the
Yeah.
same time, if they don't
Thank
turn
you for
out
the cookie
to
run
like
first.
get together, if it turns out that they're just friends for the entire show, I'm totally fine with that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be really, really refreshing, honestly. But
And I just want to
Yeah.
point out that
This-
this is in an ecchi that the main character doesn't have a harem at all. It's like blowing my mind right now.
that's the fascinating thing to me. Like, it is very clearly, in some respects, an ecchi in that
Mhm.
sense. You know, there is a lot of sexualization going on and sort of things of that nature. But like, weirdly enough, to me, whenever those actual scenes like actually occurred or anything of that nature, it's still like, even though it was like openly sexualized, like, to me it weirdly didn't actually feel the same kind of sexualized context as other ecchis I've seen do.
Right.
No,
Like, it's-
not
it's-
not
it's-
entirely. No. Yeah.
Like, I mean, there is a lot where there are parts where I'm like, okay, yeah, this is clearly
They
supposed to just
had
be,
yeah.
gays.
They
things
had
like that,
dead
like
or
male
they had
gays
dead or
and all
alive
that
boob
jazz.
physics and butt physics and stuff like that
Yeah.
a couple of times. But like
It was
other
just
than that,
ridiculous at some points, though.
yeah,
Yeah.
it got a little out
Like,
of hand.
to the point of, how could you even take this seriously? Like, there are some points where I'm thinking, are you trying to like kind of parody ecchi in this
Yeah,
sense?
I wasn't really sure about that. That was kind of ambiguous too. I didn't know if that was like kind of like, are they poking fun at that, or are they actually doing that, or is that just kind of like the tone of the show is that it's just ridiculous all around?
Yeah, because that's the thing. There are just certain scenarios where they do this stuff, and I'm like, you can't possibly be trying to play this like
Straight, right?
There's no way you can actually be putting this out here and be thinking, yeah, someone's going to get off to this. Like, it just blows my mind.
Like Arena in the hot spring with the gorilla. I'm sorry, it was just a beautiful moment. But no, yeah, and I will say on the whole though, like there was definitely a lot more naked females and a lot more like sexualization of the females in the show. This is not some like equal opportunity thing going on here.
No,
It was
there
it
is
was better
some
than other
there's
than
some
other shows.
attempt at equalization, but it doesn't ever actually like level out.
Right, like the elite member number 7 that's also in Polar Star dormitory, who like spends almost the entire show in almost completely no clothing. But at the same time, it's like that's played
Oh,
for
yeah,
comedy
that's Satoshi.
rather than sexualization.
Right.
So
Mhm.
Like the same thing could also be kind of said for oh, I can't remember his name. Dojima, Gin Dojima. He always seems to be in some like weird muscle bound, like super naked scenario.
either that or
in some
whenever he's
points.
in a suit, he's still looking damn fine. Like
It just absolutely ripped. It's kind of funny. I don't know. It's
I enjoyed that
interesting how they
character.
kind of try to straddle the line between like male and female sexualization, but that could be a whole other discussion in of itself.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, when it comes down to it, this is Japan and this is an ecchi, so going into it, I think you should definitely just expect that, anyways.
Yeah. It does a better job than a lot of other shows.
It does do a
Yeah,
better job.
it really does.
And
It's
I will
not
say,
I will
perfect, but
definitely
it is
give it that.
better, So
and I will say that as far as like male, females on their characters themselves and their personalities, they do a really great job with this cast being like incredibly diverse as far as males and females, and the males and females all being incredibly unique and interesting in their own right.
And being perhaps in some ways within the context of the show's world, actually believable
Yes.
characters as well.
mhm.
Um, they're not all just walking tropes. Like, they have tropey elements about them, but they do have things that actually make them stand out and make them actually fairly unique.
Right.
Right. And I mean, you're gonna have tropey elements all over the place. That's just
It's anime, so
you can't kind of escape that the way that the industry sort of is at this point in time. But
anything else stand out to you guys? I had something on my mind and I totally forgot it. It'll come to me.
what do you think here?
Yeah, I had something earlier as well, but I don't remember what it was at this point.
Yeah, I'm kind of blanking as well. I guess I'm looking forward to starting on the second dish, season 2.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too, especially because this show, interestingly, did not end at the end of the competition. They announced this competition about halfway through the show, and then we're not even done with the competition.
Yeah,
and
the autumn selection only went through the preliminaries, and it ended with the end of the preliminary selection.
Yeah, we haven't done the finals.
I'm assuming the second season, it's only 13 episodes.
Really?
And considering, it's only 13 episodes, and considering that about probably 6 or 7 was just spent on the preliminaries for the autumn selection, I feel like, and I mean, I don't know, I haven't read the source material, I haven't read the manga, so I feel like this second season could just be the culmination of the autumn selection.
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
I can see it going two ways. I can see it going that way, in which it spends about probably 8 episodes on just the finals for this competition, and then the last 4 are going to be a unique arc on their own, in which I'm sure Souma gets challenged by people that are part of the Elite 10 or something like that, because they didn't really delve that much into it this season. Or it's going to be an equal half and half, and they kind of shorten the amount of time they actually spend on each episode, because when they had 24, they spent a lot of time detailing a lot of things and taking their time to really plot out how the story's supposed to go. But if they only have 13 episodes for the next one, they could probably shorten that.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, you can go first.
No, you're fine.
You guys are so nice.
I know, we're so nice. This is a nice podcast. No, all I was going to say is that I'm interested to see how they're going to deal with the autumn selection, the rest of it. Mostly because, for one, I've heard only one person talking about Soma's second season and saying that they skipped a lot of important material, but that remains to be seen. I don't know if that's true or not. Because you know how people are with their source material. They say it's important, but it's not actually important. So
not always.
I don't know. So I don't know if that's even true. Second, I've read a little bit of the autumn selection arc. I'm just interested to see how they're going to do that, because I feel like it would take a long time, but it also might not take a long time depending on what happens. Because at the part I'm at, I only know about one of the semi-final rounds. I only know the outcome of one of those. So I don't know if that's and I mean, it took half the manga volume to do it, but I mean it's adapted it just fine so far. So I mean, I don't think I think if it just, I don't know, I think it's gonna be fine. So
sure. So but a semi-final round taking half a manga volume, as opposed to how long did one of the preliminary matches take in a volume?
The preliminaries were flashed back and forth like they were in the show. So I mean, it took about a volume and maybe a little bit of change.
To go through a lot of
all
those.
of the preliminary stuff, maybe a volume and a half at most.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
So I mean, it just depends on how they want to do it. And I don't know the structure. I assume that probably this whole second season is going to be the autumn selection. It just depends on how much time they want to spend on the individual outcomes and matches, because some of them might not be important. I don't know.
Okay.
That's all I was going to say. That was a lot, but that was pretty much the gist of it.
Zach, what did you want to say?
I don't even remember at this point, so it probably wasn't important.
You know what I wanted to talk about?
Sure.
Oh.
Some of my favorite moments in the show.
No.
Okay. Who is that one teacher that was an alumni, part of the training camp, that like absolutely was in love with Megumi?
Oh, the
Inui Hinako.
One of the things that I
Hinako's
loved, which
adorable.
kind of played into, like, she had a lot of great moments, but like one of the first moments that we see of her introduced, was this part where we have this Italian guy who's a rival to Soma. And it's like our first introduction to him, and he really wants to challenge him. So he like takes their class that they're currently in, and he says, "I challenge you, and this teacher will be the judge." And I love it because she's like, "That's not a part of my teaching duties, so no, that's okay. I'm not going to do that."
I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, I don't really want to do that. I love it too because that was like the direct opposite of what you would expect in like a fighting anime. It was like one of the few times they actually kind of subverted it a little bit, because like because they would have like some like grandmaster, and he would be like, "Oh ho ho, you're challenging each other. Well, I shall sit in on this." But like in her case, at first she said no, and then she found out they're both incredibly good at cooking, and she was like, "All right, I'll do it. What the heck?"
Yeah, it's kind of the same way when after the kind of informal battle that that Soma and Ishiki Satoshi have at Polar Star, once he reveals I'm number 7 of the Elite 10.
Yeah.
It's like the next morning when Soma's like, "Okay, I challenge you to an actual battle," and then like everyone's just like, "Okay, so what's for breakfast?" and just completely ignores it, and it's like,
Yeah.
what? What do you mean we're not going to have a battle here? This isn't what I expected.
It's not the time to use that.
Now's not the time to use that.
Shut up, Professor Oak.
Yeah, I really like those small little moments in the show. They had a lot of really good small little moments that like overall they contributed to the plot, but only in little bits, and like just those little bits were really nice by themselves. Like for instance, one of the ones that I enjoyed a little bit later on was he's talking to that one dude who's like the Prince of Spices or whatever. I can't remember what his title was.
Akira?
Yeah, and he's like, "I'm excited for us both being in the autumn selection competition so that we can compete against each other." And he was like, "I guess I'll see you there." And he's trying to like dramatically hero walk off, and then he gets it slammed by the door as it's opening up, and then he's just on the floor for the next moment. And I thought that was a nice moment because like I've seen something like that in other shonen whenever they're trying to like subvert the dramatic element in the show with like a little bit of comedy to keep things lighthearted. But what I liked is that it kept going with the joke, because like it could have been one thing to where he's just now on the floor, and then Megumi answers for everything, and then they just move on from there. Because I've seen something like that happen in like Naruto or Soul Eater or something like that. But like instead, his moment is the guy who's the Prince of Spices continues to be dramatic towards him. Meanwhile, he's just on the floor going, "Yeah, okay," like trying to sound cool, but he can't. And it kept it going for a little bit, and I was like, "That's nice. I like that you actually did something a little bit more interesting with the joke."
Yeah, it has a great sense of it has really nice sense of comedic timing for the show.
Yes.
It's kind of going along with the pacing just in general. Everything is spaced out very well. Almost all the jokes elicited at least kind of a chuckle out of me.
That was also the same episode that the Prince of Spices says, "I'll show you how deep the spice world goes," and I could not get Spice Girls out of my head for the next 2 episodes.
Oh my god.
I was like, "So tell me what you want, what you really, really want." It was terrible. It was stuck in my head the entire time. Every time I saw his fucking face.
Well, yeah. I congratulations.
There it is. It's A and B material now. Make it happen.
Oh no, please don't.
I'd do it. No fear.
No, I fear that. I have fear.
I also liked a lot of the even though it was the same joke, I did enjoy every time that he invented some new dish with like that was just supposed to be the worst thing you've ever tasted. And I particularly enjoyed whenever Soma did that with his dad. I thought that was a nice because his dad comes to visit him, and I thought it was a nice like showing how we've kind of come full circle now, in which they're both laughing and goofing off and being fun, which was a little bit different from the previous scene where everybody had so much admiration for his dad. It was nice to show like as far as like these characters have progressed, we've also kind of come full circle and we're celebrating it. I was like, that's cool.
Um, speaking of that scene, when his dad comes home and Soma is just like, his dad's just cooking in the Polar Star kitchen, and he's just like, "Yo, I'm cooking something. Can you help me?" And then Soma's like, "Sure." And he just walks over there, and then he's like, "Wait, no, wait a second. When did you get here?" I found that scene pretty
Wait,
funny.
this isn't home? Why are you here?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Because I thought he was just gonna go do it. And I thought he completely realized that his father was there, and I thought he was just playing it up. But that was pretty funny. But they didn't do the stereotypical thing where he walks in. I don't know. I thought it was a little different. It was a little twist. I like that.
That's mostly what this is. It's like this show plays it very straight, and then they just have like tiny little moments that are like itty bitty twists. They don't actually change any tropes or anything like that. It's just their own unique flair on it, which I enjoyed that flair a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of passion, and you can.
that is a very tame way to put it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of sexual tension. It had a lot of funny little moments like that, and it also had a lot of heartwarming ones too. Like pretty much everything of Megumi's was heartwarming. And then they also had one moment where like Erina and Soma miss the bus and they have to ride together, and so like they have their own thing. Where they're like having to confront each other, and Erina absolutely hates him, but also knows that he's a good cook. She just refuses to admit it. But like right before that, Soma accidentally gets on the wrong bus, and it's a bus full of like all of the like
elderly.
All the elderly, and like a lot of them actually contributed their food to the camp competitions. And it was this little heartwarming moment where like between him and the guy who did the eggs, and he was like where someone was like, "I'm sorry that I ruined so many eggs," whenever he messed up in the competition, but then he was able to fix it. And he was like, "Hey, as long as you don't forget about me, we're good. You're a good kid. You have a lot going for him." And it was like this nice little moment, and all the other grandparents are coming in. They're like, "Yeah, use my eggs and my beans and my cheese," and I'm just sitting here like, "And my axe." It was like fucking wordful. It was great. I was like, "Oh, this is so heartwarming and nice."
Yeah, it's a very feel good show. It made me super happy.
Also, because we haven't talked about it, they change up the openings and the endings every episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't notice it a ton.
I didn't either, because it's only that they change what dish it's going to be in the opening, and I think the ending they just changed like one other thing.
Yeah, I had something that showed all the things somewhere, but it doesn't matter.
I'll tell you what
very minimal.
What I definitely did notice though.
The first opening's better?
Yes. But I actually like the second ending better.
Oh, wow. That's an unpopular opinion. Everybody hates the second ending.
What's the matter with you?
Why?
I'm just kidding. I don't hate the second ending. I just like the first ending better.
Yeah, the first ending's better.
But I'm honestly curious, like, why do people not like the second ending?
Because the singing is apparently atrocious to a lot of people.
See, that's weird. I wouldn't say that at all. I
didn't say it was atrocious at all. I could tell that the singer themselves were not hitting the notes, but they were purposely doing that because the entire song is sung in a way to appreciate this kind of childhood nostalgia, which the ending itself did very well with Erina passing by all of the rest of the cast. And as that's going on, the lyrics are talking about different things about growing up and youthful enjoyment and all this other stuff.
Right.
And I thought that the singing complemented that very well, and everything had a very low key and like and nostalgic vibe to it. I enjoyed that a lot, and it wasn't that her singing was bad. And I think some people may think that, but it's like if you're listening to punk or something like that, where like they're purposely not hitting the notes perfectly and they're being rough around it, like rough with the actual. Okay, they're being rough with the actual note and not singing it perfectly, and that invoked a lot with along with her actual like little bit higher range and register invoked that kind of childish element to the song. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I liked it. Also, the second ending was fucking fantastic. Whenever the first time, because like as I was watching it the first time, I noticed there's that chick with the black hair in like the background. There she is again. There she is again. It's like getting creepier and creepier.
That's spooky.
They also did change it up that one time whenever the black-haired girl, I can't remember her name, but like
Now
she gets quote unquote like purified by like this amazing like soup curry. And so the ending actually changes it to where initially they're all like cooking in some black broth evil witch's brew, but that time it was like this golden like chicken broth looking thing, and everybody.
Oh my god, is it for real?
I didn't see that.
You didn't see that?
I totally missed that.
I feel like I saw it, but then I disregarded it.
Yeah, and instead of being in her like witch's outfit,
to get to the epilogue.
Yeah, and
wow.
It was like instead of being in her witch's outfit, she was actually in her schoolgirl outfit, and she was happy.
Oh my god, I have to go back and find that.
Oh
It was
my
amazing.
God, yeah, I had to look at it.
Dude, it was immensely satisfying to see that.
That's amazing.
Holy cow. That's great.
I gotta say, the soundtrack in general for the show was actually very good. Matt noticed because I actually downloaded the soundtrack. I really liked it. It was a lot of like sure, there's the funnier tracks, which are like the operatic songs that happen whenever people take a bite of the food and all of a sudden they're brought to some heavenly like nirvana.
Oh yeah.
But I also liked that they would use two different ones, and I liked the way that they did them. There was one that was this operatic track that they used for most of the time, but then Megumi and a couple other people had a track which was legit an American Southern Baptist spiritual.
Yep.
it was in English. The lyrics were actually in English. And it was like this Southern Baptist spiritual, and it's had that same concept of like, oh, it's heavenly, it's beautiful, but at the same time, it's very more traditional and rural, like Megumi comes from. I thought that was a clever idea.
I actually did not notice that.
Oh, really?
But that's really cool though.
Yeah.
I was too busy paying attention to the really epic tracks when they were cooking before they presented the dish.
God, I know.
I love those.
So
with the strings and the drums in the background. And
yeah, like that was just. It was
like you
amazing.
expect someone to start storming Mordor or something.
Yeah. Like it's like epic battle music. Is what it was.
You're just expecting Aragorn to come out on a horse, and he's like, "But today is not this day. Today we fight."
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. It just had this epic feel to it. It was grand. It was a spectacle. That's exactly what it was.
And
yeah,
I
that's
liked
what
it
this
too.
whole show is. It's a spectacle.
I liked it too because that was also like it was like those were reserved for all the dramatic moments, and they hit hard and really well, and they were just fucking fantastic because they're all just like cooking and like chopping onions incredibly quickly and different things like that.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of things, whenever like they were just with the regular show, it was a little bit more low key, and you didn't really notice it as much, but it was really nice. I liked those songs as well. And they fit each one perfectly. I will say there was one that didn't quite hit its mark. And that has nothing to do with its musical quality. And Matt, I talked to you about this. They in the backstory for the two Italian brothers, they started playing mariachi music. I was like, because I listened to it at first, and I was like, okay, these instruments are very obviously like European style, but then like all of a sudden there's like singing and a trumpet, just like burr, 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 and it was straight mariachi, and I was like, I think you might have messed up your cultures, just a bit.
Like, so are we talking like around episode 9 or something?
Yeah.
Or...
Yeah, whenever the Italian brothers we first get introduced.
Probably when they were talking about the Mezzaluna or whatever.
It shows a flashback to them at the very beginning of the episode. It shows a flashback to them growing up in Italy and then coming over here.
Okay, give me one second.
And it's straight mariachi music for an Italian like Sicily theme. I was like, what? It was the weirdest thing. Other than that, though, like culturally, they were pretty good at like showing a lot of different foods and different things from a lot of different cultures and
Yeah, and
appreciating.
the music would change as the cultures
Yeah,
change.
and they had characters from a lot of different places. Like they had people from America, they had people from China, they had people from Scandinavia. It was cool. It was cool to see all that. And none of these characters were better than each other. And Japan, in their anime, tends to have this thing of like, yeah, but the Japanese are obviously much better. But like, none of that really shone through in this anime, which I appreciated. I appreciated that a lot. It wasn't like blatantly racist like G Gundam. That's what I'm saying.
Well, yeah. Well, that's always good. We can't.
Yeah,
Okay.
not openly racist is a good thing for a show to be. Just to toss that out there.
Yeah.
Dude. Legit though. This was a good show. I enjoy this. It's like I had the only thing I have issues with is just on a personal level. I don't like a lot of the like I was fine with the sexualization anytime they took a bite of food or something like that because like typically whether male or female everybody got their clothes ripped off except for thank fucking goodness whenever they showed it with the small little child her clothes did not come off. Thank fucking goodness. But like
I was thinking that exact same thing.
I never even thought that. What's wrong with you people?
because every time they take a bite of
I
food
was like, please don't actually do this.
Yeah.
I know you're not going to do this, but please don't do this.
because every single character in the show regardless of gender will lose their clothes when they take a bite of food.
Yeah, but they're children, man.
But well, that's the thing. I was like, "Are they? Please no, please!" And then they didn't do it. I was
do
like,
that with the children.
"Oh, thank goodness." But like, yeah, I was fine with that as far as like these metaphors for like the nakedness of man and in amongst our drives for food. But like, there was also a lot of outside of that like overt sexualization, and on a personal level. I don't know if I was entirely like comfortable with it, especially because it was that sexualization that doesn't add anything to the show. In fact, it felt like it was retracting a bit because like it was just there and it didn't need to be there, and we could have done something else with the shot, or done something else with the scene or the cinematography. But we chose to just showcase this instead.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Like, chose to showcase talking boobs instead of a talking person.
Right. It's like I want to because we can show a lot more emotion in a person's face than their boobs. Just plain and simple. There's a much better way to frame that shot, and they didn't. Those times, on a personal level, that bothered me. But that was few and far between, honestly, in comparison to like them actually using the sexuality as a benefit to the plot and what they were explaining and what they were doing. So I think on the whole, the show was great.
Yeah. Actually, on that note, really fast, and I'm gonna like do something that's blasphemous. I'm gonna shame the source material for a second.
Oh boy.
And that's gonna be like everyone's gonna hate me. But basically, the source material was actually a lot. What's the word I'm looking for? It was less. Like the anime, like yeah, it was still present in the anime, but the manga was kind of a little bit more liberal with the sexualization.
Like it was a little more explicit with it.
It was a little more, well, not explicit. Like the clothes and the stuff still came off, but they just had more of the unnecessary sexualization that Kyle was talking about. Like there was one, like in the very beginning, in like episode 2, which is like volume 1 or 2 of the manga. I don't remember which one. Basically there's a shot where like Irina like flips up like she like I don't know, she walks or her skirt flips up or something, you see her panties and it's like half of the fucking page, and I'm like and stuff like that they just kind of cut in the anime, so I was kind of glad to see that that they just cut it completely because it wasn't needed. So
honestly, from the standpoint of manga, because the whole like the shot or the actual like frame, that's your page whenever it comes to manga. That's even more of a sin whenever it comes to doing that for an actual manga, because you're wasting space in your book that you could have used for something else.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
And so like I feel that's even worse for an actual manga or comic format. Compared to in a show, it's like typically that's sometimes they'll do a shot, but the shot's only 5 frames. or something like that. And it's like
Right.
it didn't need to be there, but it wasn't
Like,
there
But
for too
it's
long.
more manageable in this format.
Right.
Yeah. So so that's all I was gonna say is that in the anime they were a lot better about just cutting that kind of stuff or just kind of like overshadowing it or covering it up or
just not doing that exact frame
yeah,
whenever they converted
just
it
were
to
like,
the
yeah,
end.
we're not doing that. Okay.
Which I
Yeah.
appreciate. I think knowing that, I appreciate that they did that. Although I will say
That's
one
pretty cool.
thing that you said the manga does that the anime doesn't do, which I thought was freaking awesome, was the manga actually shows you all the recipes for these meals.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Like all
I
the
still
food in
recommend
the
the manga,
show,
but-
and it looks really good. All the food in the show, and we got recipes for it. That's fucking fantastic.
Yeah,
That apple
so you-
risotto.
The
Go,
apple risotto, man.
Maybe I'll like I don't know. I don't want to scan the page. I'll give you the recipe, I guess, out of the manga.
Dude, that
if it's
apple
there.
risotto was so good. Like it looked so good. Oh. Well, anything else that you guys wanted to bring up?
Not really. I think we hit all the major points I wanted to talk about.
Talking about Soma made me hungry.
Watching this
You
show
watching the
straight
show
made me
made me
hungry.
hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ah,
I share that sentiment.
it was a good show, though.
Mm.
Good show.
It was it was super enjoyable. I liked the show a lot more than I thought it would.
Yeah, it was a much
And
better adaptation. than I
Even
thought it
going
was
into
gonna
the
be.
show with high expectations, it kind of exceeded what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I had only seen
Yeah.
like a little bit of this show, and I was like, I'll probably enjoy this, but I didn't think that much about it. And then like I was very happily pleased with going in with low expectations, and then just coming out with incredibly high, like a very good feeling about this show and like everything that it did. I was very impressed. So much so that I can overlook like some of the things that in other shows probably I would have been annoyed about, like some of the overt sexualization that didn't need to be there.
I feel like you're directing that towards Netagay for some reason, but let's carry on. We already
Most of the
talked about
time,
that.
I am.
Let's move on.
You don't want to oversalt this dish.
No.
I was going to talk about, because while I was watching this show, like initially I was actually going to talk about it in comparison to a Japanese film I had seen called Tampopo, but this and Tampopo actually don't have that much in common. That's the unfortunate thing, because I just wanted to bring up Tampopo. Great movie. It was also an entire movie about film and our feelings and obsession with it, using sex or sexual themes to like show the similarities between our urges and drives as humans. And there was a little bit of that touched on in this show, Soma, but like it was mostly just like metaphorical, whereas in Tampopo they showed it literally. And so like I thought that was interesting, but I just was hoping that these two would be more connected, and then they weren't. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. I don't know. I watched Kafuku Graffiti, which is kind of like this show.
Yeah.
It was kind of shitty compared to this. Like this was just an overall much better adaptation than I don't know. I know Kafuku Graffiti adapts something, but I never read it, and I don't care to read it. It kind of does the same thing.
Fuku Graffiti like a 4-coma adaptation though?
I don't know. I think it might be a manga adaptation. I could not tell you. But yeah, like they did the same thing where like, ooh, there's, people eating food and they feel really good when they eat food. It just was a lot more boring.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. I guess you could give it a watch if you wanted to, but it's not really worth it. But we're not talking about that show. We're talking about Soma. Yeah. Going back to what you said earlier about the adaptation. Yeah, like even I read the manga of Soma first, and then I watched the anime, and it was better than what I thought the adaptation was going to be. Like, so they really hit it on the high mark there. Like, it was just way more, not emotional. It was emphasized. The moments were much more emphasized than what I thought they were going to be. Like the big moments.
Awesome.
So.
Nice.
High marks.
High marks all around. Everybody, 10 out of 10.
Gold
Not really.
stars.
Not really, but they do get gold stars.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I'm pretty much out now.
Cool. Well, I guess we will see everybody next time for whatever anime we're doing. So, bye.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks. Don't die.
What?
What's the matter with you?